Hi everyone, my name is Gala Rios and welcome to your favorite newscast. Today I'm going to talk to you about gender violence in Mexico City. First, we will define gender violence as a type of physical, psychological, or sexual violence against any person based on their sexual orientation, sexual identity, or gender. This problem affects women more than men in this city and actually the whole country. And it's caused by the maleness so ingrained in Mexican society. One of the main problems that Mexico City presents on this subject is that people don't recognize it, or they just believe that gender violence it's about the physical aggression against women. But actually, the statistics says that the two of the most common types of violence in the city are the economical or psychological. That's why it's so important to talk about this, for the people can understand what it is, and the women in this case can recognize it and can see if they are living in this kind of situation. And if this is the case, they can look for help and go out of this. But now it's time to go with my partner, who will talk to you about this topic in the context of the quarantine.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being with us. My name is Sharon Leyva, and this moment I'm going to talking about gender violence in the Mexico City due to the COVID-19. At present time, we are in a bad moment due health crisis, which has caused that allow us to protect yourself in our homes for a long time. Cause two of these gender violence increased, and it's important topic we need to talking about it. The government implement a specific telephone line for these cases with training operation, the adaptation of schools or hotels has temporary shelters. So there have been 405 phone calls since the start of the pandemic, and we are waiting that with these actions reduce cause of gender violence. The emergency phone is 911. Finality is important that they know that aren't alone. It's more important. This part is essentially. Thank you for listening.
Health emergency has revealed that health system has many problems, but these problems are not the result of the emergency. So I have a question for you. Have you ever lived a bad experience in a Mexico City's hospital? Was it a private hospital or a public one? In Mexico City, not all citizens have access to healthcare, and the level of care is not the same for everyone. But why is it like that? There are two main reasons. bad quality attention in hospitals, and disparity between rich people who can pay for a private hospital and poor or middle-class people who receive attention in public hospitals. In clinics, there is a lack of medicines, beds are not enough, and the number of doctors is below the recommendation. These doctors sometimes even lack of basic resources to attend patients. Another fact is that Mexico City has an impressive number of hospitals with high technology, but this technology is reserved for those who can pay for private hospital care, leaving behind many of the neediest patients. What's the reason behind this situation? The answer is simple: a poor investment in the health system. The consequences of this are many. For example, people who suffer from chronic diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, or chronic heart disease become unable to have a job, and they sometimes even die of these preventable conditions because government don't pay enough attention to prevention and treatment of these diseases. With more resources, doctors would be able to give quality attention. This would result in a better prevention of diseases and an increase of workers' productivity, who would be healthier. In the long run, health costs could low and economy could grow. What do you think about it? Let us know on social media. My name is Brenda, and I wish you a safe night with your family. See.
Mexico is one of the most unequal countries in the world. This in due part because of the bad policies and bad institutions that plague the country, or due to the summary for all the problems that capitalism and neoliberalism entail. According to the data provided by the Coneval, in 2018, 48.8% of the Mexican population were poor. In Mexico City, the biggest city in Mexico and the capital of the country, the statistics were better than the country's overall statistics. But these helpful statistics are caused with a high percent of people in poverty. According to the data, 30.6% of the Mexicans who lives in the capital are poor. Other 28.4% are vulnerable to failing in poverty because social deficiencies. Another 7.8% are vulnerable because their low wage income. This leaves us with the situation that only 33.3% of the Mexicans who live in the capital are poor or don't have social deficiency. This means that only the third part of the citizens in Mexico capital are poor, mostly because they have a good salary and they live with social deficiencies. In context, poverty isn't a problem that surges out of thin air, as this is a reflex of the problems in the developing countries. The data of Mexico City is just another example of how big these kinds of problems tend to be. Poverty often leads us to other problems like inequality, which make part of a bigger set of flaws in Mexico City society. Analyzing this situation helps privileged parties figure out exactly what part of the Mexican people don't have the same opportunities that they do. What makes those two parts of the population vulnerable in a social way, or just why the people who live in that situation prefer to enter in the world of criminality.
Now we're going to talk about economics and politics in Mexico. Well, it's important to have in mind that in Mexico the important thing is to have a stable economy, but nowadays it's gonna be difficult to restore those things, because one of the points that I want to talk is the economic collapse in commercial partner. Because the crisis of the coronavirus, China and United States, they are fighting a lot to don't collapse a lot, and that is gonna be difficult for the Latin American countries. The other thing is the oil price, because Andrés Manuel López Obrador bet for the oil price, but it's difficult to demonstrate that because the crisis of the coronavirus took the oil price because it wasn't so important. The other thing is the fall of the Mexican peso, because when we were starting the crisis on March 20,
the Mexican peso was 20 pesos per dollar, and now we are having 25 pesos per dollar. So it's gonna be difficult to restore the other things. And one subject important is tourism, because Mexico is a country that live in tourism, like in Acapulco, Puerto Vallarta, and the other cities. But with this quarantine and these statistics that are rising, it's gonna be difficult to restore in a short time the tourism because of the psychological transtorn or things like that. Now it's important to talk about the position of Andrés Manuel López Obrador, because he is kind of relaxed about the crisis, but the Mundial Organization of Health have a lot of hope of Mexico, because the things we are doing are good for the prevention of the spread of coronavirus. Well, that was everything.